Hello, friends, for BRICS past, present, and future, in the sense of where it has come from, where it is now at the time of the summit, and then where is it likely to go. It's a question answer session from our friends and students and colleagues, and we will be getting the questions, and I would be quickly scanning them to see that what is it that the basic thing is formed, and I would respond to them. So therefore, I would not specifically say the names, as the same question may have been asked or similar question may have been asked by a number of you. So the very first question where everybody is interested is how has the media reacted to the BRICS summit and its outcomes? And second is in which sectors of economy will the major impact be felt in a few years down the line? And third is that what are the grouping like this of 10, 11 nations now, and as it grows, what is the effect it will have? Specifically, they want to know what is the feedback of West. And of course, West, when we say it will be media, it will be think tanks, it will be specific sectors, it will be specific types of media like New York Times, Reuters, and the others. And these days, of course, a lot of people say things on social media, and that is also very vast. And then coming closer to India, what will be the impact, which sectors, where the opportunities will increase, where the pressure will be felt also, and how does the stock market react to it? And then finally, as to what is the future we see of this particular organization. Because currently it has no headquarters. Some people feel that China will dominate it, but we will go into it whether that is a reality or is likely to be the reality in large number of nations, whether one nation can dominate today, like the USA, because partly the grouping has been made to counter this idea of hegemony. And so you can't create another hegemony to counter a hegemony of USA particularly and West in general. So first point about media. We have reviewed the media, let's say DW, which is German network, supported by government, TRT, Turkey, supported by government, BBC, supported by government. Then I just mentioned the New York Times, CNBC, private network. There is hardly any network in USA except PBS, yes, Public Broadcasting Service is there. And then we have a medium like Democracy Now, slightly left of the center. In US, we have reviewed that. And then coming closer, First Post from the Middle East, Al Jazeera, and then CGTN, which is Chinese, CNA, which is Singapore. So we have reviewed all of this. And in general, except for the West, the coverage is quite enthusiastic. And yes, from Africa's SABC of the South Africa Government Network, Africa the Great, Africa Shining, are a number of new networks there which have been reviewed. So as I said, except for the West, where there is a lukewarm reaction to it, not really negative, rest of the world is very, very positive about it. Now, interestingly, because Chandrayaan landed its lander and rover on 6th, at 6 p.m. Day before yesterday, the two things have got combined. And Indian stock market jumped by 30,000 crores. So now you can attribute it to Chandrayaan, or you can attribute it to BRICS outcome, or you can attribute it to both of them. But the Indian stock market had one of the highest rises of a single session on 24th. Now, so media, what it is saying is basically it is tracing the history. It says yes, it has come because of the hegemony of few countries, especially USA. It has come because of the sanctions effect which is there, and they don't find sanctions to be reasonable. And Then, as far as the grouping is concerned, earlier it was kind of laughing that whether they will be able to survive or not. But the point is that the grouping has also itself a large number of resources and will be able to tap the resources further of Africa and South America, because the two countries in South America, we now go by continent by continent, of Brazil and Argentina, are very strong by themselves, and they're very strong in certain commodities like meat, wheat, and barley, meat also, because of the grazing grounds, etc. And China picks up a lot, and China is spending money on the ports there and internal transportation, etc., as part of the BRI projects. Then coming to the Africa, Africa needs vaccines, it needs manufacturing, it needs conversion from raw material to value addition, and which the erstwhile colonial powers have not done. And if they have done something, it is under their companies. So the local Africans and the local African governments get very little out of that. So there is so much to be done on that front there, in education, science, and culture, and the infrastructure, where China has promised a lot of projects. There was a business forum along with this BRICS meeting, and 50 odd companies were there, and about 30 have signed up MOUs for specific projects. Then New Development Bank, NDB, also immediately took action to raise the local currency, that is rands, equivalent to $1.2 billion, and so it will go on to that policy of raising local currencies and giving local currency loans also. Therefore, the South Africa media, 95% of it, of course, has spoken very positively about it. Few, yes, because of the opposition parties and so on, because the African National Union, ANU, will be going into elections fairly soon, and Ramaphosa will face that democratic opposition as it normally is. Now, so then proceeding further to China, to the extent I have seen the media, especially that is government media, is highly supportive of what has happened. The minor incidents which have taken place there have been overdone in the media of Africa and West, which is where the door closing, where Mr. Z was there, and the security was asked to not get into it and all that. Some raised in India shindy about Mr. Modi was going to go back because Mr. Ramaphosa didn't come to receive him, which is complete nonsense. Because the protocol and the Ministry of External Affairs would have definitely known and discussed and who was going to come to receive. There were two cricketers who came, and the diaspora was there, so everything was fine. And we have to imagine that in a small country like this, there were 70 heads of state which were coming. The security of everybody has to be taken care of. Then protocol gets involved. In case of China, the visit of Mr. Z was a state visit. So he got the state visit honors, highest civilian award of South Africa given to him. But Mr. Modi got equally good, very, very good reception, and the whole of the hall congratulated. Once at 603, the Chandrayaan's rover and lander landed on the moon. And therefore, this occasion got combined together. West has been lukewarm even before, and somewhat dismissive also, that this will not work. And somewhat dismissive that, there are sanctions by USA on China, on Russia, and Iran, and all that. All these people getting together along with the sanctions, what will they do? But actually, this grouping is likely to show that those sanctions mean nothing, if these countries cooperate with each other, which they plan to. And then if you look at in terms of certain commodities, you look at oil. So Russia being there, Saudi Arabia, which really basically represents OPEC also, and UAE is also there, and Iran is also there. They will dominate the oil market. Nobody else can. If you look at commodities, let's say wheat, Argentina plus Russia plus India means dominating the export markets of wheat. As far as rice is concerned, China is the largest producer in the world, but is also the largest consumer in the world. And then Thailand and Vietnam and India dominate rice, which is bought by the rest of the world. So now, therefore, there are a number of commodities which get together. It's not just oil. It is other things, which are required every day, rice and wheat. Barley similarly, with Russia and Brazil and Argentina, and then meat between Brazil and Argentina. So there is a lot of synergy of that kind, where there are large consumers, like India is a large consumer and China is a large consumer of the oil. That they will have long-term tie-ups because you are part of a grouping, and then you can do the transactions with each other on a common currency, and they will very soon prove that why do they need the dollar, right? Because dollar is strict. Somebody puts up a rate of dollar, some traders actually, which is downgrading your currency, depreciating your currency. Then you have a tremendous problem in your own economy. And of course, your GDP shows as if it has gone down. So all those issues are there. But for common currency, there are a number of other relationships which have to be developed. Understanding has to be developed. But most of the predictions in the Western media, but these are basically from traders who have put up these YouTubes, etc., who are dealing in metals, is that gold cost will go up, and these BRICS will be a gold-backed currency. Now, if BRICS is a gold-backed currency, and there is sufficient gold which China and Russia and Brazil and South Africa and India have collected already, and then on top of that you add UAE and Iran and so on, then this currency may even outbeat the dollar, which has no gold currency anymore, because there will be more confidence in that particular currency. Having said this, the inputs from the media on this are all positive, saying that the gold will become the basis of the currency. And before that, of course, our own UPI will help to tie up for the transactions. The GPS developments which are there in Russia and China, they put together, they will end up having a GPS system of their own. Then they will have a corresponding SWIFT system of their own, which is not difficult because there is a system already in Russia similar, but then of course the country tie-ups are less. Then for vaccines, of which Africa is very, very short, I'm sure India can give all the expertise and so on, because the Indian companies are not that exploitative. Why say that? If they sell something at $1, the US and European companies sell at $20, $30, $40. I'm talking about the vaccine, but then there are so many things about equipment to go with it, and syringes to go with it, and other medical supplies. Sometimes the equipment for freezing the medicines or keeping under the frozen temperatures, and then of course the manpower is there. So which India can also train. So this is almost now an obvious sector which will fall, where India will help, and there will be opportunities for the Indian companies. India has offered to have a space consortium of BRICS. The likelihood of that is very, very high, that there will be space cooperation. Brazil, Africa in general, has asked for infrastructure, and China has open-heartedly said it will be there. The representative of African Union asked for food security, and Russia has said that they should not worry. Russia will ensure that there is no food shortages, especially for the poor people in Africa, but certainly not even grains. There will be no shortage of grains for them. India had also generally made that statement earlier. In a meeting of one of the media with Mr. Guterres, the UN Secretary General, after discussions, he has said that yes, the time for multilateralism has come, and this meeting shows that the time of unilateralism is going away. So it's kind of against West, but not putting it that strongly, that yes, the time of multipolarity has come. You can't say that, for example, that India will not be a member of UN Security Council, but France will be there and England will be there in addition to USA and so on, and maybe Spain will be there. So BRICS also passed a resolution that India should be made a member of the Security Council. So Russia announced that, and as far as Ukraine war is concerned, a general resolution was there that there should be peace and harmony and so on. But Africa under Ramaphosa's leadership had already made a peace proposal. China had already made a peace proposal. Now going forward, it looks like this grouping itself on 1st January, when it becomes operative, would be a dominant entity. Population-wise and GDP-wise, population of about 50%, so it's a majority of the world, and GDP close to 40, but could be between range of 37 to 42. And of course, the growth rates, depending on the growth rates, because US and European growth rates are near zero, Japan is near zero. And while this grouping is expanding at the rate of 5 to 7%, out of which China is about 4% now, India is about 7% now, and Saudi Arabia and UAE, etc., are also expanding that phase. Then we come to the financial resources. Number of these economies are capital surplus. China is, Russia is, UAE is, Saudi Arabia is, perhaps even Iran is. Once the sanctions are removed and it can sell its oil, it will be surplus. Brazil can use capital because of infrastructure. Argentina can use, but then they produce very, very large amount of commodities. And those commodities will be diverted from Europe and elsewhere, because Europe does not produce much of the grains anymore or commodities anymore, nor it doesn't have much raw material, except Norway has that oil thing which came up, offshore oil, a few years ago, and it's therefore very rich. But otherwise, they are short of the raw material. Everything comes from outside. Maybe it comes from Canada, maybe it comes from Australia, and so on. But then these large chunks will get concentrated in the BRICS, and they can have policies around it whereby they are strengthened. So overall, it is strengthening. It is good for science, good for geopolitics. It's good for, and it's good on the basis itself of, the kind of monopoly which had got generated, or oligopoly, is going to be countered by another one. And if they don't fight with each other, hopefully they don't. Hopefully China and India also have good relationships. Sometimes people forget that minor skirmishes don't make a difference if you look at civilizational point of view. China and India, in its 3,000 years of known history, have never clashed with each other. None of the small principalities, etc., have also gone and attacked the other. So if we can live for peace for 2,500 years or 2,900 years, why cannot we live in peace? Because not living in peace with China means India's growth will be slowed down. China's growth will also be slowed down. Who will benefit? We know who will benefit. With this grouping and India going to the moon, it gets established that India is no more a third world country, that it can master science, it can master things like making vaccines and so on, which people thought that it's only the ballpark of the Western world. So I think I have covered most of the questions which have come, with the thing that maybe once a year we will, near the summit, we will put up a update and assess what has happened, or in between also put an assessment once these new countries first January join, because each one of these countries inside the debates will be on who benefits, who gains, whether they should get along on this and get along on that. So these kinds of marriages of such a large countries just don't happen very easily. Right now, we can all say that this is an engagement, and it seems to be a good match. Thank you very much.